Merlind 3D, a new dimension in network magic. Hey everybody, my name is John Capobianco, and today I'm going to show you the power of Python in Blender. Now, Blender has the ability to import the BPY, Blender Python Library, so that we can access the world, the three-dimensional world that we've built, Pythonically in our code. So let's take a look at what this means. And I'm going to just share the screen here and keep my little face up today. So I've built this 3D world of show IP interface brief, and I am in the viewport shading. I haven't rendered this yet, right? So this is unrendered, so it's pretty plain. But what you can see is we have an interface and the IP interface, show IP interface information for every interface dynamically from our JavaScript object notation array of arrays. But what I was thinking is I'm going to move it over here because I have two side by side. I have a healthy and a not healthy interface. Wouldn't it be great to differentiate the two, maybe change not healthy to red and change this interface to red and healthy to green and this interface to green, depending on the value of the JSON key, which is what we've done here programmatically. So let me just make some space and we'll explore this. So I have to import BPY, which is new, and I've already imported JSON to work with JSON. So now inside of IP interface brief, what I'm doing is for count an item in enumerate and then IP interface brief and start at 1 instead of 0. Now I need this count because of the variable nature of the objects inside of BPY. Meaning I have object Nick008, but what I'd like to do is update all of them programmatically. Now, yes, right now this will only work between 0 and 9. I'm going to have to add some logic if I go above 10 to make this a 1 and then the name, but I'll deal with that. For now, I'm just dealing with 8 interfaces. But the important thing is that if item 8, which is the 8th item inside of the array of arrays, so this file here, right, and if we count, right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if this index says healthy or not healthy, then set the material, and it's important here, the material slot 0, so the active material slot, material to material up or material down. So now let's look at those materials, and what I've done is, if we go to the parent interface, in our collection here, like if we go to our where is it? Our interface name text? No, where is our? Oh, it's down here. I'm sorry, that's why I can't find it. This Nick, for example. So what I did was added two materials by hitting plus under material slot. Now this is material slot 0, and then material slot 1, etc. Well, we want to move material slot up or down that we've created and we've changed to red and green into slot 0 depending on the logic, and that's what's going to happen here. So let me get into render view and run the Python. Well, let me run the Python now. There's no errors in the Python. And now let's render it. Hey, look. So my not healthy is red now. The nick and the text and the status and the status. But healthy is now green. Isn't that interesting? So what I thought we might do, I'm going to do it a dry run before I record it. And I have to add some lighting system. It's very dark. Don't worry about that. I'll show you. If I add a light here, well, don't worry about it. I'll do that later. But so now what I want to do next is we have different interface types, right? We have ones that start with VLAN. We have ones that start with LO for loopback, and we have ones that start with ETH. Well, I'd like to write the code next, right? I'm going to build 3 materials, a material for VLAN interfaces, a material for loopback interfaces, and a material for physical Ethernet interfaces. And then I'll evaluate the string, and if it starts with VLAN, apply the VLAN texture. Let's see if we can get that to work. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, I have this working and I think I'm ready to show you how to do it yourself. So let's go into the full screen view here. And again, what I'd like to do is change these materials, right? If we go to the material here, I'd like to change them depending on what they start with, right? VLAN or LO or ETH. So what we have to do is go into our parent, the one we hide, and you can see I've added 4 materials. Now it's important to have a default material that you set to 0, and it's important that you delete these if you've already instantiated them, so that way they get these that you create here, all of your instantiations will pick them up. So now that I've deleted those, and if I refresh my node tree, they'll come back. But now if we look under the materials here, this will give you a hint as to the logic once I run the Python. So everyone has the default values. Now let's run the Python. And you can see, I'll render it in a second, but these interfaces, the material 0 has changed from default, whereas these ones have not, because they are not VLANs. Pretty neat, right? Based on this 2 lines of code. So if item 0 in our JSON array of arrays starts with VLAN, then go ahead and change the object, the interface name text, and then the instantiation number, material slot 0, material, to VLAN interface. So let's render it. And now you can see that VLANs all have this purple color to identify them and differentiate them from, say, a loopback. Now let's go ahead and do loopback, and we'll leave it rendered here. So I'm just going to copy this line to be efficient, and I'm going to change it to say the material now is going to be, where did I do? What did I do? Right here. Loopback, and this is going to say LO, and I'm going to save it, and let's execute it. And there, loopback has now changed colors, and our VLANs are still purple. Let's move down the line and do the Ethernet. And boy, I wish I could do this for me at home. This would be a great, I'd love to see that you're learning along here, but let's just paste that in. And this is going to be ETH, and this is going to be our Ethernet interface, and we're going to run the Python, and it gets colored in. Now, as far as the aesthetics go, whether or not these colors are appropriate, and I'll leave that up to you. You just have to change your material. And I would change the material on the parent, right, and find the material that you want, and I would change it here, and then re-render everything. So now we're coming along, and it's coming along nicely, where we've added some colors. I've added a neon sign here. And we have the not healthy, we have the VLAN, right? So now IP address and timestamp and this interface, right? These are probably just going to be all of the same color. And then maybe the time will be a different color as well. And then I'll have to jazz it up a little bit. But we're making good progress. So thank you for joining me. And there's going to be many more videos to come. And stay safe out there and start your own blends. Go ahead to github.com, automate your network, Merlind 3D. You can clone this, follow the README file, and start to play with this world yourself. And if you have any problems at all, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or a YouTube comment or an email. There's many ways you can get a hold of me. Thanks again.